Paul's heart pounded as he stepped through the airport security line in Dallas, his carry-on bag slung over his shoulder, hiding the small velvet box that held his deepest secret. The scanner beeped unexpectedly, and a stern-faced TSA agent pulled him aside for a pat-down, his hands lingering just long enough to make Paul's stomach churn with fear. But it wasn't contraband they found. It was the engagement ring engraved with Jamie's name, tucked away in his pocket, sparking a chain of events that would unravel his carefully constructed life. Back in New York, Paul had built a world where he could breathe freely. He was a successful graphic designer at a bustling ad agency, surrounded by colleagues who celebrated diversity like it was second nature. Jamie, his partner of 3 years, was the anchor in that chaotic city life. A quiet librarian with a sharp wit and eyes that could melt Paul's defenses in seconds. They met at a book launch event, bonding over obscure sci-fi novels, and what started as coffee dates evolved into stolen weekends in Central Park, whispered promises under the stars. But Paul's family in Texas knew nothing of this. To them, he was the dutiful son, the one who called every Sunday, sent money home when times were tight, and never rocked the boat. This trip was supposed to be simple. Attend his sister Emily's wedding, play the role of the supportive big brother, and fly back to Jamie without incident. Emily had begged him to come, her voice cracking over the phone as she described the stress of planning amid their parents' endless opinions. "You have to be there, Paul. Dad's been asking about you nonstop. He thinks you're avoiding us." Guilt twisted in his gut, but he agreed, booking the ticket and telling Jamie it was just a quick visit. "No big deal," he'd said, kissing Jamie goodbye at JFK. "I'll be back before you miss me." Landing in Dallas felt like stepping into a pressure cooker. The humid air clung to his skin as he rented a car and drove the familiar route to Willow Creek, a small town where everyone knew everyone's business. His parents' house stood unchanged, a modest ranch-style home with a faded American flag waving from the porch. His father, Robert, a retired mechanic with calloused hands and a no-nonsense demeanor, greeted him with a firm handshake. "Good to see you, son. City's treating you well." Robert's eyes scanned Paul, searching for signs of the urban decay he often ranted about. His mother, Linda, enveloped him in a hug, her floral perfume overwhelming. "We've missed you so much. Emily's been a wreck. Come help with the decorations." The house buzzed with pre-wedding chaos. Aunts arranging flowers, cousins chasing kids, and the constant hum of southern accents debating cake flavors. Paul dove in, hanging streamers and folding napkins, all while dodging questions about his own life. "Any special lady in New York?" his Aunt Clara teased, winking. He forced a laugh. "Nah. Too busy with work." That night, as the family gathered for a rehearsal dinner at the local community hall, Paul's phone vibrated in his pocket. A text from Jamie, "Miss you already. Call me when you can." He slipped outside for air, dialing Jamie's number under the cover of twilight. "Hey babe, everything okay?" Jamie's voice was warm, a lifeline in the suffocating familiarity. "Yeah, just family stuff. Wish you were here." The words slipped out before he could stop them. There was a pause. "I could be, if you wanted." Paul's chest tightened. They'd had this conversation before about coming out, about introducing Jamie. But Willow Creek wasn't New York. Here, church was mandatory, and whispers about those people in the city were commonplace. His father, a devout Baptist, often quoted scripture against what he called modern sins. Paul couldn't risk it. "Not yet," he whispered. "Soon." Hanging up, he returned inside, only to find his father watching him from across the room, a curious furrow in his brow. Robert raised a glass. "To family," he toasted. Paul clinked glasses, but the word felt like a weight. The next day, wedding preparations ramped up. Emily pulled Paul aside in the bridal suite, her dress half-zipped, eyes wide with nerves. "Paul, I need to talk to you about something." She hesitated, biting her lip. "Dad's been acting weird. He mentioned seeing you on the phone last night, looking secretive." Paul's pulse quickened. "It's nothing. Just work." She studied him. "You know you can tell me anything, right? We're family." He nodded, but the lie burned. As the day wore on, he helped set up the venue. A quaint chapel on the outskirts of town, surrounded by oak trees. Guests arrived in droves, old neighbors clapping him on the back, asking about his big city adventures. Amid the crowd, Paul felt exposed, like a fraud in his own skin. That evening, after the rehearsal, the family retired to the house for a quiet dinner. Robert cornered Paul in the kitchen. "Son, we need to talk." His voice was low, serious. Paul froze, knife midway through chopping vegetables. "What's up, Dad?" Robert leaned against the counter. "You've been distant. Is there something going on? A girl? Drugs? Whatever it is, you can tell me." Paul's mind raced. The ring in his suitcase upstairs felt like a ticking bomb.
No, Dad.
"Just stressed from work." Robert's eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me, boy. I raised you better." The accusation stung, but Paul held his ground. "I'm not lying." Dinner passed in tense silence, broken only by Linda's attempts at small talk. As night fell, Paul retreated to his old room, posters of high school heroes still on the walls. He pulled out the ring, turning it in his fingers. Engraved inside, "Forever, J&A," a symbol of the life he wanted, but one that could destroy everything here. Sleep evaded him, thoughts swirling. What if he told them? What if he didn't? The internal battle raged, loyalty to family versus authenticity to himself. Little did he know, the storm was just beginning. The wedding day dawned bright and hot. Paul dressed in his suit, tying his tie with shaking hands. Downstairs, the house was alive with excitement. Emily glowed in her gown, Robert beaming with pride. As they piled into cars for the church, Paul's phone buzzed again. Jamie, sending a photo of their apartment, captioned "Hurry home." At the chapel, guests filled the pews. Paul stood at the altar as best man, watching Emily walk down the aisle. The ceremony was beautiful, vows exchanged with tears and laughter. But during the reception, in a tent behind the church, things shifted. Robert pulled Paul aside again, this time with Emily in tow. "We found something in your room," Robert said, holding up the velvet box. Paul's blood ran cold. "Care to explain?" Emily looked horrified. "Paul, is this for a guy?" The world tilted. How had they found it? He'd hidden it deep in his suitcase. Betrayal hit like a punch. Someone had snooped. "Dad, Robert's face hardened. "Is it true? Are you one of them?" The word "them" echoed like a slur. Paul's mind screamed to deny it, to protect the fragile peace. But looking at Emily's pleading eyes, he couldn't. "Yes," he whispered. "I'm gay. And Jamie, he's my boyfriend." Silence fell, heavy and accusing. Robert's jaw clenched. "You bring this shame on our family? On your sister's wedding day?" Emily burst into tears. "Why didn't you tell us?" Guests nearby turned heads, whispers spreading like wildfire. Paul felt exposed, raw. The confrontation escalated as Robert demanded answers. "How long? Why hide it?" "Because of this," Paul shot back, voice rising. "Because I knew you'd react like this." The argument drew more attention. Aunts gasped, cousins stared. Linda rushed over, trying to mediate. "Not here, please." But the damage was done. Robert issued an ultimatum. "End it, or don't come back." Paul stormed out, heart-shattering. Driving aimlessly, he called Jamie. "It's all out. They know." Jamie's voice was steady. "Come home. We'll figure it out." But as Paul headed to the airport, doubt crept in. Was leaving the right choice? The price of truth felt exorbitant. The flight back to New York was a blur of turbulence, both external and internal. Paul stared out the window, the Texas landscape shrinking below, but the weight of his father's words pressed down like gravity. "End it or don't come back." The ultimatum replayed in his mind, each syllable a dagger to his resolve. He'd left the wedding reception in chaos, Emily's sobs echoing behind him, Linda's pleas falling on deaf ears. Landing at JFK, Jamie waited at arrivals, his face lighting up until he saw Paul's expression. They embraced wordlessly, the hug a temporary balm. In the cab home, Paul recounted the disaster, the snooping, the confrontation, the public humiliation. Jamie listened, hand squeezing Paul's knee. "I'm proud of you for telling the truth. That's huge." But pride felt hollow. Back in their cozy Brooklyn apartment, surrounded by bookshelves and framed photos of happier times, Paul collapsed on the couch. "What if I lose them forever? Emily's wedding is ruined because of me." Jamie sat beside him. "It's not ruined. And if they can't accept you, that's on them." Sleep came fitfully that night, dreams haunted by Robert's disapproving glare. The next morning, Paul's phone exploded with messages. "Emily, please call. We need to talk. Linda. Your father is upset, but he loves you." Nothing from Robert. He ignored them, throwing himself into work. The agency was pitching a major campaign for a LGBTQ+ nonprofit, ironic timing. His boss, Sarah, noticed his distraction. "Everything okay, Paul?" He hesitated, then spilled a sanitized version. Sarah nodded sympathetically. "Family can be tough. Take the day if you need." But work was his escape. Days blurred into weeks. Jamie tried to help, planning date nights, but tension simmered. Paul snapped over small things, dirty dishes, late nights at the library. "I'm sorry," he'd say, pulling Jamie close, but the apologies grew frequent. Then came the call from Emily. "Dad's had a heart scare. Stress from everything. He's in the hospital." Guilt crashed over Paul like a wave. Was this his fault? He booked a flight immediately, telling Jamie, "I have to go." Jamie's eyes narrowed. "Alone? Again? I can't drag you into this mess." "Maybe I want to be dragged." The argument escalated. Jamie accused Paul of cowardice, of prioritizing family over their relationship. "When are you going to choose us?" Paul left angry, the door slamming behind him. Back in Willow Creek, the hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret. Robert lay pale against the pillows, monitors beeping steadily. Linda rose to hug Paul. "Thank God you're here." Emily squeezed his hand. "He's stable," but the doctor said stress contributed. Robert stirred, eyes opening. "Paul." The word held no warmth, but Paul approached.
Dad, I'm sorry.
Robert sighed. "Me too. But this lifestyle, it's not right." They talked haltingly about faith, about expectations. Robert shared stories of his own youth, pressures to conform. "I just want what's best for you." "But what's best is Jamie," Paul said softly. Robert's face tightened. "Bring him next time. Let me see for myself." Hope flickered. Was this progress? Paul stayed a few days, helping around the house, mending fences with Emily. She confessed to finding the ring, curiosity, not malice. "I didn't mean to out you." "It's okay," he lied. Returning to New York, Paul felt lighter. He told Jamie about the invitation. Maybe they're coming around. Jamie was skeptical. One hospital scare doesn't erase years of bias. But Paul pushed for optimism. They planned a visit for Thanksgiving, Jamie agreeing reluctantly. "For you," he said. As fall leaves turned, work intensified. The nonprofit campaign launched successfully, earning Paul praise. But personally, cracks widened. Jamie grew distant, spending more time with friends. One night, Paul found him texting late. "Who's that?" "Just a colleague," Jamie replied, too quickly. Doubt seeded. Was Jamie pulling away? Paul confronted him. "Are you unhappy?" Jamie sighed. "I'm tired of being your secret. Even now, with your family knowing, it's like I'm on trial." The fight was brutal. Accusations flying, old wounds reopened. Jamie stormed out, staying with a friend. Alone, Paul questioned everything. Had coming out been worth this? Days later, Jamie returned. "I love you, but we need to fix this." They talked deep into the night, recommitting. Thanksgiving approached, nerves high. Arriving in Willow Creek with Jamie felt surreal. Linda greeted them warmly, hugging Jamie. "Welcome." Robert was polite if stiff. Dinner was awkward, small talk about jobs, weather. Then Robert asked Jamie, "What are your intentions with my son?" Jamie met his gaze. To love him, sir. Fully.
tên xiềng hung thích.
Later, in private, Robert cornered Paul. He's nice, but this isn't natural. Think about your soul. Paul defended. My soul is fine. Yours needs work. The clash reignited old fires. Robert retreated to his study, Linda mediating. Jamie wanted to leave early. This is toxic. But Paul begged him to stay. Give them time. The visit ended on a fragile truce. Back home, Jamie issued his own ultimatum. No more visits without boundaries. Paul agreed, but resentment brewed. Work suffered. He missed deadlines, snapped at colleagues. Sarah pulled him aside. Get help, Paul. Therapy. He started sessions, unpacking layers of internalized shame. I feel like I'm betraying everyone, he admitted. The therapist nodded. You're choosing yourself. That's not betrayal. Christmas loomed. Emily invited them, but Paul declined. Need space. Robert called, voice gruff. Family is family. Come home.
No, Dad.
Not until you accept us. Silence, then. I can't. The line went dead. Heartbreak hit anew. Jamie supported him, but their relationship strained under the weight. One evening, Jamie confessed, I met someone. Nothing happened, but I was tempted. Betrayal stabbed deep. Why? Because I feel invisible. They argued, tears flowing. Paul realized the cost, his indecision hurting Jamie. I'll fight for us, he promised. But doubts lingered. As New Year's approached, Paul faced a crossroads. Fully commit to Jamie or cling to family hopes. The new year brought resolutions. But for Paul, it meant confrontation. He dove deeper into therapy, journaling his thoughts, dissecting the maze of emotions. Why do I crave their approval so much? He asked his therapist. Conditioning, she replied. But approval isn't love. Inspired, Paul reached out to Emily. How's Dad? Stubborn, she said. He misses you, though he won't admit it. They talked weekly, Emily becoming a bridge. She shared her own struggles, marital tensions post-wedding. Life's not perfect for anyone. Jamie noticed the change. You're opening up more. It's good. Their relationship mended slowly. Date nights resumed, intimacy rebuilt. But societal pressures loomed. At a Pride event, Paul froze when a colleague spotted them. Just friends? The colleague joked. No, Paul said firmly. Boyfriends. Pride swelled, but fear followed. What if word got back to Willow Creek? Work offered distraction. The agency landed a pro-LGBTQ+ client, assigning Paul lead. He poured his soul into it, designs reflecting his journey. The campaign went viral, earning accolades. Interviews followed, Paul speaking openly about identity. One article caught Robert's eye. He called furious. Parading your sin online? Shame on you. It's not sin, Dad. It's me. The call ended badly, but Paul felt empowered. Jamie proposed a trip to San Francisco for a break. Just us. There, amid fog and freedom, they explored, holding hands publicly. At a gay bar, they met couples with similar stories, family rejection, eventual reconciliation, or estrangement. You choose your family, one man said. Back home, inspiration struck. Paul started a blog, anonymous at first, sharing his story. Readers responded, validating his pain. But betrayal lurked. Jamie's colleague texts increased. Paul snooped, guiltily, finding flirty messages. What's this? He confronted. Jamie admitted. Emotional affair. I'm sorry. I felt neglected. Trust shattered. How could you? I was lonely, Jamie cried, while you obsessed over your family. The fight peaked, Jamie packing a bag. I need space. Alone, Paul spiraled. He called Emily. Everything's falling apart. Come home, she urged. Talk to Dad in person. Desperate, he flew to Texas. Robert met him at the door, expression unreadable. What now? Paul poured out his heart. About Jamie, the affair, the pain. I need my family. Robert listened. Then, maybe this is God's way of showing you the path. Anger flared.
No, Dad.
It's your way. The argument turned vicious. Robert quoted Bible verses. Paul countered with logic. Linda intervened, tears streaming. "Stop! You're tearing us apart." Emily suggested family counseling. Robert refused. "No shrink tells me how to think." Paul left defeated, but not broken. Back in New York, he confronted Jamie. "We can fix this or end it." Jamie chose to try. They attended couples therapy, unpacking resentments. "I betrayed you," Jamie admitted. "But you betrayed us by hiding." Progress was slow, but real. Spring brought change. Paul's blog gained traction, leading to a book deal. He came out fully using his real name. Support flooded in, but so did hate mail from strangers and subtly from family. Robert emailed, "Saw your article. Praying for you." Passive-aggressive, but contact. Then crisis. Linda fell ill, cancer diagnosis. Paul rushed home, Jamie insisting on coming. "I'm part of this." At the hospital, Robert allowed Jamie in. "For her," he grumbled. Linda embraced them both. "Be happy," she whispered to Paul. Chemotherapy sessions bonded them oddly. Jamie helped with meals, errands. Robert observed, thawing slightly. One night, over coffee, he asked Jamie about his family. "Disowned me years ago," Jamie shared. Robert nodded. Tough. A crack in the armor. But as Linda improved, old tensions resurfaced. Robert pushed Paul. "Marry a woman. For her sake." "No." Paul stood firm. The standoff culminated in a family meeting. Emily mediated. "We love Paul. That includes Jamie." Robert stormed out. Heartbroken, Paul and Jamie returned to New York. Was it worth it? Paul wondered. Therapy helped. Boundaries, the counselor stressed. Summer arrived. Paul's book released, Hidden Truths, A Gay Man's Journey Through Family and Self. Reviews praised its raw honesty. A signing event drew crowds, including a surprise. Emily. "I read it," she said, hugging him. "Proud of you." She revealed Robert had too, secretly. "He's struggling." Hope reignited. But Jamie grew impatient. "How much more do we give?" Then, a bombshell, Jamie received a job offer in Chicago. Better pay, fresh start. "Without me?" Paul asked. "With you, if you come." The decision loomed. Uproot for Jamie or stay, clinging to family ties? Paul agonized. Work thrived in New York. Family was in Texas. Moving meant surrender or growth. He chose Jamie. Let's go. Packing was bittersweet. Goodbyes to friends, the city. Emily visited, supportive. Dad will come around. The move to Chicago felt liberating. New apartment, new jobs. Paul freelanced, Jamie thrived at the library. But family silence hurt. No calls, no visits. Then, Linda's remission party invitation arrived. "Bring Jamie," it said. Robert's handwriting. They went, nerves taut. At the house, Robert greeted them. "Welcome." Dinner was civil. Later, Robert pulled Paul aside. "I read your book. Made me think. About love. Maybe I was wrong." Tears fell.
À tentative Hugues.
But was it genuine? Or pressure from Linda? The visit ended positively, but doubts remained. Back in Chicago, life stabilized. Paul and Jamie grew stronger, planning a future. Yet the cost lingered, years of pain, lost trust. Settling into Chicago brought a rhythm of normalcy Paul hadn't known in years. The Windy City offered anonymity, a fresh canvas away from New York's hustle and Texas's judgments. Paul's freelance design work flourished, clients drawn to his authentic voice post-book release. Jamie excelled at his new library position, curating LGBTQ+ sections with passion. They adopted a dog, Max, whose playful energy filled their loft with joy. But shadows of the past crept in. Paul's therapy sessions continued virtually, focusing on forgiveness. "Forgive your father?" the therapist asked. "Maybe, but not forget." Contact with family was sporadic. Emily's calls, Linda's health updates. Robert remained distant, his thinking from the remission party unelaborated. One evening, over dinner, Jamie broached marriage. We've been through hell. Let's make it official. Paul's heart soared, but hesitated. What about family? They're invited. Their choice to come. Planning began. Intimate ceremony in a Chicago park. Friends as witnesses. Invitations sent, including to Willow Creek. Emily RSVP'd yes, excited. Linda too, health permitting. Robert. Silence. As the date neared, tension built. Paul dreamed of rejection, waking in sweats. Jamie soothed him. This is our day. Then, a call from Robert. I'll be there. Shock? Really? Yes. For you. The wedding day arrived. Crisp autumn air. Guests gathered, New York friends, Chicago colleagues. Emily walked Paul down the aisle, tears glistening. Linda beamed from the front row. Robert sat stiffly, but present. As vows exchanged, Paul glanced at him, eyes misty. Reception followed, toasts flowing. Robert approached. Son, I'm proud. Words Paul craved. They talked privately. Robert admitted struggles with faith society. Church friends judge, but family's more important. A breakthrough, but Paul probed. Accept Jamie fully? I'm trying. It was enough for now. Honeymoon in Hawaii sealed their bond. Beaches, sunsets, bliss. Back home, life hummed. Paul's book inspired a podcast, sharing stories. Jamie supported their partnership solid. But society intruded. A hate crime in the news. Gay couple attacked. Shook them. Could be us, Jamie said. Paul advocated more, joining rallies. Robert called after one. Saw you on TV. Be careful. Concern, progress. Then, betrayal resurfaced. Emily confided. Dad's been talking to the pastor about saving you. Trust wavered. Why tell me now? Wanted you to know. Paul confronted Robert. Still trying to change me? Robert denied. Just praying. Argument ensued. Old wounds reopening. If you can't accept, stay away. Silence followed, months without contact. Jamie urged boundaries. Protect our peace. Paul agreed, focusing on their life. They discussed kids, adoption, surrogacy. Dreams solidified. Holiday season approached. Invitations exchanged. Robert declined. Not ready. Hurt, but expected. New Year's resolution. Live unapologetically. Spring brought opportunity. Paul offered a teaching gig at a university. Sharing design and identity. Accepting meant travel, strain on marriage. Jamie supported. Go for it. Balancing act began. Success grew, but distance too. One trip, Paul met an old flame. Casual drinks turned flirty. He pulled back, but guilt gnawed. Confessing to Jamie, nothing happened, but I felt tempted. Jamie's face fell. Like I did. Karma's bite. They worked through it, therapy reinforcing commitment. Summer family reunion invite arrived from Emily. Dad wants to try. Skeptical, they went. At the gathering, Robert was warmer, asking about their dog, jobs. Private talk. I miss my son. Then accept him, Jamie interjected. Robert nodded. I'm learning. Small steps. But societal backlash hit. Paul's podcast drew trolls, threats. One night, vandalism, slurs on their door. Fear gripped. Move back to New York? Jamie suggested.
No.
Stand ground. Police involved. Community rallied. Robert called. Come home if needed. Irony, safety in conservative Texas? They stayed. Resilient. Fall. Linda's cancer returned. Aggressive. Paul and Jamie flew down. Hospital vigils, supporting. Robert broke down. I was wrong. Life's too short. Embrace. True reconciliation. Linda passed peacefully, surrounded by family, including Jamie. Funeral united them. Robert eulogized, mentioning Paul's loving husband. Acceptance. Grief bonded. Post-funeral, Robert visited Chicago. See your world. Tours, talks. Robert met their friends, saw happiness. Never understood, he admitted. Now I do. Healing began. The costs tallied, years lost, trust mended piecemeal. Paul reflected in his journal. Decisions shaped us, prices paid. Life moved forward, adoption process started. A child on the way, future bright. Yet questions lingered. With Linda gone, the family dynamic shifted irrevocably. Robert, once the unyielding patriarch, softened in her absence, as if her passing stripped away his armor of rigid beliefs. He visited Chicago more frequently, staying in their guest room, walking Max in the mornings, and even attending a local pride event. Awkwardly but willingly. "For my grandsons," he'd say, eyes on the adoption paperwork scattered on the table. The process was grueling: home studies, interviews, background checks. Paul and Jamie navigated it together, their bond tested but unbreakable. When the call came, a baby boy available, they wept with joy. Naming him Elias after Linda's father felt right. Robert flew in for the homecoming, holding Elias with trembling hands. "He's perfect," he whispered, tears falling. Emily arrived too, cooing over her nephew. The house filled with family, a scene Paul once deemed impossible. But peace was fragile. Willow Creek's community whispered. Robert's church friends distanced themselves, labeling him soft. He confided in Paul, lost some pals, but gained a son. The sacrifice mirrored Paul's own. "Worth it?" Paul asked. "Every bit." Elias's arrival amplified everything. Sleepless nights, first smiles, joy amid chaos. Jamie thrived as a father, his library job flexible. Paul balanced teaching and freelancing, his story inspiring students. One lecture, a young man approached. "Your book saved me, coming out to my family." Pride swelled, but reminded Paul of his journey's toll. Broken trust with Jamie, years of hiding, Linda's illness perhaps hastened by stress. Robert's transformation continued. He joined a support group for parents of LGBTQ+ kids, sharing his evolution. "I was blind," he'd say. A family vacation sealed it, renting a cabin in the Rockies. Hiking, stories by the fire. Robert asked Jamie about his past, listening without judgment. Back home, challenges arose. Elias's school faced anti-gay curriculum debates. Paul advocated drawing media. Trolls resurfaced. Robert defended publicly in a local paper op-ed. "My son's family is as valid as any." Brave but backlash hit. Vandalism at his house. Paul worried. "Dad, you okay?" Better than ever. Costs accumulated, friendships lost, but authenticity gained. Jamie's old temptations faded, their marriage stronger. "We paid the price," Jamie said. "Now we reap." Elias grew, inquisitive. "Two daddies?" Kids teased. "We explain love," Paul replied. Society evolved slowly. Laws changed, attitudes shifted, but personal battles raged. Paul's second book explored fatherhood, ethics of choices. Reviews debated, right to prioritize self over family? Promotions brought travel. One trip, Robert joined. "Proud of you." Bond deepened. Yet reflection brought doubt. Had Paul's initial hiding caused unnecessary pain? Or was timing key? A family dinner, Elias babbling. Robert raised a glass. To choices. Paul pondered the paths not taken. As years passed, Elias's questions grew. Why was Grandpa mad before? People learn, Paul explained. The story's end wasn't tidy. Life rarely is. Conflicts resolved, but scars remained. Betrayals forgiven, not forgotten. Damages healed, but echoes lingered. In quiet moments, Paul wondered, was the turmoil necessary for growth? Did the ends justify the means? The family thrived, love prevailing. But at what cost? Was forcing change through confrontation the right path? Or should acceptance have been sought more patiently? With Linda's passing, the void she left forced everyone to reevaluate. Robert, grieving deeply, found solace in unexpected places. He started volunteering at the church's outreach program, but instead of preaching old doctrines, he listened to diverse stories. One day, he shared with Paul over the phone, "Met a young man like you. His pain reminded me of what I did." Paul listened, heart thawing further. "Change takes time, Dad." The adoption journey was a roller coaster. Agencies scrutinized their lives, finances, home, relationship stability. Doubts crept in. Were they ready? But Jamie's steadiness anchored Paul. "We've faced worse." When Elias arrived, a tiny bundle with wide eyes, the world realigned. Robert's visit was tentative at first, but holding his grandson melted reservations. "He has your mother's smile," Robert said, voice cracking. Emily became the doting aunt, visiting often with gifts and stories. The family, once fractured, began to knit together around this new life. But external pressures tested. Chicago's progressive vibe helped, but national news of rollbacks on LGBTQ+ rights stirred anxiety. Paul joined advocacy groups, balancing fatherhood with activism. Jamie worried, "Don't burn out." Robert surprised them by donating to causes. For Elias's future, internal conflicts lingered. Paul struggled with postpartum-like blues, questioning his worth as a parent. Therapy helped unpack imposter syndrome from years of hiding. Jamie faced his own demons, memories of his family's rejection. "I won't let that happen to Elias." They co-parented seamlessly, routines establishing. Mornings with bottles, evenings with lullabies. A milestone, Elias's first birthday. Party in the park, family flying in. Robert gifted a handmade cradle, his mechanic skills repurposed. "Tradition," he said. Conversations deepened. Robert admitted regrets. "I pushed you away, feared what I didn't understand." Paul forgave. "We both made mistakes." But forgiveness didn't erase pain. Jamie harbored resentment toward Robert. "He hurt you for years." "People change," Paul countered. Tension simmered, culminating in a heated discussion. "If he slips back, what then?" Jamie asked. "We crossed that bridge." Society's mirror reflected progress and pitfalls. A neighbor's casual slur prompted talks. "Teach tolerance early," they agreed. Paul's career soared, keynote speeches, book sales. But fame brought scrutiny. An interview gone viral drew family mentions. Robert fielded questions in Willow Creek. "My son's brave," he'd say. Costs, privacy invaded, but impact positive. Elias' toddlerhood brought chaos, tantrums, discoveries. "Dada," his first word, to both. Family holidays rotated, Thanksgiving in Texas, Christmas in Chicago. Robert hosted, including Jamie in traditions. One Christmas, Robert pulled Jamie aside. "Thank you for loving my son." Jamie nodded. "He's worth it." Healing full circle.